Okay, good morning everybody. Thank you for taking a few minutes out to listen to what we have to say. My name is John Douglas, Director of the Independent Garage Association. I'll set the scene and then I'll get the panel to introduce themselves. The plan today is for us to bring to you some of the questions that we receive or the conversations that we get into when communicating with garages in the independent sector. The independent garage sector is our sphere of interest, and that's our only sphere of interest. And we believe we've got a number of recurring topics which I think my colleagues on the panel will be able to shed some light on. They all run their own garages, but I will let them introduce themselves one by one, and they can tell you about their garage and their circumstance. So guys, at the risk of sounding like Cilla Black, what's your name and where do you come from? Do you want to give us starting with you, Tom, a bit of an intro?
Of course, yeah. So hello, I'm Tom Atherton from Weissach, UK, an independent Porsche specialist in Cheshire, in a place called Biley. We call that the heart of Cheshire because it's right in the middle of it. And we've been going for 7 years.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Emma Swain. I head up our family web company as well as our garage business, primarily look after motor trade businesses in the web world, so that's my expertise. We've been 21 years running both businesses, so...
Thanks, Emma.
Hi, I'm Peter Wilden, and I'm from Williams Garage in Otterbourne. I've been in the motor trade 50 years, a particular garage, and I've run my own garages for 50 years. I've been running Williams Garage for 35 years, and yeah, I think every possible business problem that you can have along the way. But I enjoy the job, and I love it, and I'll never retire.
Hi, my name is Matt Peacock from a company called StarTech. We are an independent Mercedes BMW Jaguar service centre based in Poole in Dorset. I've been in the motor trade for 30 years, been running the business for 20 years, and we're just at a phase where we're now transitioning to a bigger portion to integrate some of the new technologies as well. So.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you. So, as you can see, all of our panel members are very well entrenched in the independent garage sector. I'm just going to walk about, guys. Hopefully that doesn't put you off. So, there's a thread that runs through the questions that we're going to unpack. Effectively, what we want you to feel is that you're part of a natter that we're having about what affects their garages. And I too am a garage owner, so I can share some of those sort of subjects that we're talking about. I feel like I've got my back to you, sorry about that. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about, you may have already seen the agenda. We've billed it as, would you like to boost the efficiency and profitability of your garage? Learn how to analytically and take control of your costs. Well, that wasn't me that put that there. That set us up now, hasn't it? But let's have a little discussion around that. Where that comes from is, in our world, what we've noticed is there's potentially a newish generation of garage owner that operates in a slightly different way to what perhaps traditionally happened when my father set our family business up in 1973. There's a slightly different perspective that we're noticing coming through. And often those people that are operating garages now, unlike me, are not necessarily a mechanic that has then taken on a garage and then grown through to the management side of things. We're sometimes now talking about people that have taken on a garage at a management level and have not necessarily worked on the workshop floor. So these things are sort of adding up to a different mindset, and people are tending to earn more to an analytical mindset. Now, may I just say, from the Independent Garage Association perspective, we know that a good many garages like to operate in a more traditional way, and that's absolutely fine. We welcome that, and that's absolutely, you know, their prerogative. But we're just having a conversation now about something that seems to be a prevalent conversation. So that's setting the scene then, folks. I wanted to unpick a little bit more about how that might or might not apply to your garage, because you may be an analytical thinker about how you run your business, you may be more of a traditional operator. But maybe, seeing as you're the closest, Tom, shall I pick on you first?
Why not, hey?
Do you
Usually
wanna-
do. So my background is actually from the banking world. So when I was 20, I grew a team to 100 staff before moving on and getting into Porsches for the first time, basically. And I was always been on spanners and self-taught. So my dad helped me change disc and pads at 7 years old. With regards to data, then I really reverse engineered the garage environment when I set up Weissach UK. I looked at it from a demographic and a geographical location before setting up shop. So I'm right in the heart of where wealth and affluence is. It's to do with people having disposable income. So there's a lot of people where we're looking after the second, third or fourth car or collections of vehicles, and we really looked at it from that way. So that was the first thing. The second was, when looking at the data, we try and go more towards what a main dealer network would look rather than independent, to do with the key performance indicators. But try not to get too stuck on them, because that really, we find, upsets our technicians who come to an independent sector out to get away from all of the office politics that comes with a KPI-driven background business.
You can go too far that way, can't you? And I think, Tom, I'd forgotten when I was introducing my point, actually you're a good example of somebody who now runs a garage, but unlike myself, you're not a mechanic that grew into
I
that
wasn't
place.
born into it. I fell on my feet somewhere along the way.
Yeah, well done, but thank you for that. Why don't we just go in a line? Do you want to pass that? Oh, you go.
I'll go. So, yeah, I suppose I've done it the traditional way. I left school at 16, I went on an apprenticeship at Mercedes, worked there for several years, decided that they couldn't do it right and that I could do better. Went and set up by myself, took a couple of guys with me, and didn't have a clue. Didn't have no idea how to run a business, and learned the hard way very, very quickly. We then started introducing dealer management systems, which gave us relevant information. We started to work with business coaches to help us get an understanding of what we should be looking for, how we should be progressing the business, and what things we should be aiming for as a business. And then we've moved on from that. So we've got to a point now where we are, a bit like Tom, everything's data driven. From how well the service advisors are converting certain things, to how well technicians are doing, to how many jobs we get in, how many estimates we do, everything we look at now on a much, much bigger platform. Helps us, helps me definitely from a business point of view, so I don't have to worry too much. I know what we've got to be aiming for, and if we hit those numbers, the guys can see those numbers being hit, then everyone's happy.
Perfect, thanks, Matt. Pete?
So I started with my apprenticeship like everyone else, and I was actually agricultural engineering in my apprenticeship, because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I actually finished, but I knew I wanted to swing spanners. By the time I'd finished my apprenticeship, I had a garage running, and it was only a small workshop, and I was still working for a place, but I was employing people and trying to actually successfully run a garage. After probably 4 years, my father joined me, and we were together ever since, and we're still sort of together now, though my dad now doesn't involve himself any much at all. He's sort of 96 now, so he can't. But all the time running through, I was prioritising on keeping customers happy, working with customers, working with my technicians, and getting the garage up and running. But really, the garage was running me, and I think there's a point in all of our times when we start. I'm not management trained, so I've had to train the hard way and come the hard way. And really, it was COVID that made the great break for me. I knew before that I needed to make some big changes. I at that time had 2 garages running, and I needed to push it to another level. So I went to a business meeting with my bank, and I met up with a really good business coach, and I took him on. And it wasn't that I needed a business coach, it was that once I had a business coach, I knew the things that I wanted to do. And having a coach alongside me and someone professional alongside me means I made some major changes within our business, and I completely restructured it through COVID. And when I came out the other side, I took on an HR company as well. I made people redundant, I took on more people, and we came out the other side. And having someone alongside me meant nobody in the business ever questioned anything that I did. And from that point onwards, we've progressed, and we're looking at figures now. Without the figures and the data, I can't do anything. So it means that once I've got all those figures together, I know what I need to charge out with labour rates. Our labour rates were never enough before. Our parts markup was never enough before, and I couldn't track parts. So having a really great garage management system and then talking to people like the IGA enabled me to move my business majorly forward. So yeah, and I still enjoy going to work every day. So
Thanks, Pete. Perfect.
Hiya. Yeah, we don't come from a traditional background either. My dad qualified as an engineer and landed in the motor industry in 1980. I'm a qualified accountant and had no aspirations really to be in the family business. My brother wanted to play professional basketball and the other one is a mechanic. So we've not come from a traditional background either. And from day one we've always spent time analysing and managing the business. We've always run monthly management accounts. We have the daily operating controls up, so the guys in the shop know what our targets are and where we are, and we've always done that. There's definitely more analytics we can do, and I'm the type of person that quite enjoys doing that. I recently used the IGA overhead absorption costing spreadsheet, which is really, really detailed, and that's the sort of thing I enjoy. So I would actually love to do more of it, but it's just time and all those other things. But without the monitoring and the measurement, how do you make decisions and move forward, I think.
That's perfect. Thanks, Emma. That's a good point, actually. Just for those in the audience, if you're an IGA member, we've actually produced a first step measurement tool to allow you to do some analytics before you, if you're moving from a not necessarily an analytical place to moving on to an analytical place, then this helps you to do that by getting you a very visible way of seeing your what your labour rate should be based on all the costs of your garage. By all means, come and have a chat with us down on the stand. We're just along here at B102 if you would like to talk to us, because that's useful. Thanks, Emma. That was a good plug. And Pete did it as well, and I don't really need to be here. I'll just let you tell everyone about us. That's great. Look, we've dwelt a little bit on this point, longer than I perhaps anticipated, but the reason I did is because I believe that this question, this topic, of the four that we're going to touch on, actually has a bearing on the other three. So I think it's really quite an important thing to get under the skin of. Just before we move away from that subject, and perhaps as briefly as perhaps possible, and you may have already touched on it, but let's just be clear. On your journey, Tom, was this straight from the outset that you started to measure, or were you a bit like my experience where we did it eventually because we found out we had to?
So a mix of the both really. So from a measurement of the cost per acquisition of a client and the profit within each job, we measured straight away. Later down the line we started to then implement the ability for each staff member within their role to be profitable or not, basically, and then drill down the data further.
Yes, fine. And just again, very quickly, did you have a garage management system to do that, or did you do it with your own?
No, we didn't, but the IGA helped us source one.
Yeah, great. Okay. Emma?
Yeah, a bit of both as well for us. We've always run monthly management accounts and had the daily data figures up on the sheet, but in terms of analysing to the profit per job, we've never gone to that level of detail. So on the other side of that, probably we roughly know where we are and where we need to be with certain criteria, and the rest of it falls into place. So.
Perfect. Pete?
yeah, again, we never really started analysing data until probably just after COVID. And now it's the most important thing we do. I look at it daily, weekly, monthly, and I can look back year on, back for, we've got accounts now, we've got the garage management system we got for 2 years now, so I've got a really good data that we're gathering, that we can actually put the things together and see for us what actually works and what doesn't. Because why would you carry on and do jobs where you're ploughing all this time and effort into it for very small rewards? I mean, some of the other places, the fast fits, have got things about right. And I'm not saying we need to be a fast fit like things, but when you look at technicians and when you look at data, it's not always your master tech that's earning you the most labour and getting the most satisfaction from the customers. It's all about the customer experience, and by having the data, we can actually give that. And the other most important thing is like the reviews and things. Without all the data, and our management system, we can't get to the reviews. And that's again really important because we run at like 5 stars all the way through, and it gives us confidence. Having your business running professionally means you can justify the labour rates and the bills that you're giving to your customers. Until we got this correct, we would always have disgruntled customers about their bills, about the fact that they haven't been communicated properly. I would say I don't get maybe one disgruntled customer with a bill every couple of months, and that's not because we've dealt with it wrongly. It's just it is, and sometimes bills do go out of control, and we can't do anything about that.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, we were a bit like Emma. From the start, we had a good accounting firm who gave us monthly management accounts. I had no idea what they meant. I couldn't interpret them, and I didn't really care. I ran the business off of gut feel and the bank account, and that's kind of how I lived for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I sat with someone and they went, "Yeah, but you're not really making much money," and I'm like, "Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. Now I can see why we're struggling." That we started to pay attention to that, started to implement dealer management systems. It gave us the data, the information, and started tracking stuff. That now we work so closely with, it gives us the ability to make decisions upon the business. We can decide if we want to expand, if we need more technicians. We've just taken on a in-house marketing person. I can do that because I know what information we've got and how it's going to work, and then we can set up data around them to make sure that they can deliver as well. So it's something that becomes very, very important, as we go on.
Perfect. That almost replicates my experience in the garage completely. We started with a very wishy-washy, going by the seat of our pants, was there enough money in the bank, that'll do then, way of going on, and then slowly evolve. But I just want to emphasise again, from the IGA's point of view, run your business how you want. The clue's in the title. You're an independent garage. That means you can do independent things and do it how you want. We're not trying to teach people to suck eggs, we're having a natter here, and if there's any little nugget out of it that's useful to you, please take it. So, we've probably gone, as I said, a bit longer on that subject than I had originally planned, but that's okay because I believe everything ties back to that, so we might just need to be a bit more streamlined going forward. Let's leave the measurement bit behind and then unpack the next thing that I wanted to talk about was this business of the age-old problem of recruitment. Getting technicians feels like it's been a problem for many years, and it doesn't seem to be abating, it seems to be getting worse. I have not got a silver bullet. Neither has the IGA. We have tried many different things, and we've tried working with different, repatriating ex-military people into the civilian side. We've tried working with recruitment agencies, and all of those things have merit. But they don't, for us, we need universal merit, because we can't be great as the IGA in one area but rubbish in another. So we could be brilliant in Salisbury, couldn't we? But we would be pretty rubbish somewhere else where there's not an military base. So tell us a little bit about, you've got the mic there, Matt. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your challenges and how you feel you've retained people?
For me, we've really worked on it the last 3 or 4 years, and that comes down mainly to culture within the business, how we're perceived, how we're seen by independent, other technicians, main dealer technicians, by our own staff as well. Having an environment that people are happy to come into. We've now had a case where we've got a lot of staff. We run about 20 staff pretty much all the time. And they're happy to recommend people, and they will come in the morning and say they want to come to work. It's the first time in years that they want to be there. We're pulling people away from the dealerships because the pressure on people to deliver numbers in the dealers now is so great that they're finding it impossible to get out of it. So coming to an environment like us, we don't run on bonus schemes, we run on flat pay. That is a big plus. We don't work Saturdays, that's a big plus. But from on top of that, that means that they can come and enjoy their work. All they ask them to do is make sure the job's done right first time. I don't expect the job to come back. And that then brings it on. To get staff in, we always used to sort of put job ads out or try on new people that we knew. What we started doing was working with a recruitment firm before COVID, They were really quite helpful. They managed to bring in quite a lot of staff very, very quickly for us. Not just technicians, but also service advisors. And they were good staff, really good staff. Then what we did is we set up an in-house recruitment scheme. So we now pay all of our staff £1,000 if they can recommend someone that will last a probation period. So you're getting people that you know that have got the experience and knowledge and understanding for what you're trying to deliver. And that for us again has been another big plus. It's really changed because they know each other, so they know that their attitude's going to be the right attitude. People can't do what we're looking for. And two, they know they've got the skills and expertise to deliver the work we want to deliver. So like John said, there's no one thing that fixes it, but it's trying to work on all these little areas to make sure that we can cover and make sure that the staff are happy to stay and they're happy to come into work. Because that's the vital thing. So our staff turnover has dropped, dramatically over the last sort of 4 or 5 years.
And I presume it's taken some time to hone that process that you go through.
Oh, massively so. And even now we're still working on it. We're constantly reviewing roles and responsibilities for staff, so everyone knows their understanding, knows what they've got to do. One of the things I took inspiration from years ago, I quite like cycling, and Dave Brailsford had a thing where everybody on the team knew their job. And there was a documentary where he was talking about the bus driver. The bus driver knew that if he didn't get to where he had to be on time, it meant that his cyclist couldn't start recovering, and that had a knock-on effect for the next day. And that made me thinking about how can we make that work so everyone knew what they had to do and how that impacted them on the actual outcome for the customer.
Okay, that's interesting. Right, thanks, Matt. Pete?
So very much along the same lines as Matt, and probably because we're all, and I know Matt, and I know a lot of other people within the IGA, we do a lot of networking with the people. So we're able to talk with people and able to actually then discuss the ideas and how we can actually implement things and move things forward. So similar to Matt, we've built, like we had a major fire 10 years ago, and since then we've rebuilt like stunning premises. So we've got premises that automatically attract people. We've also got a training centre which attracts people because we have a lot of people move through our site daily. We've also, on the recruitment side, I worked out, and again it all comes back. I think COVID did a lot of us, in some ways, a lot of favours, because in COVID it gave us time to actually sit back and look at the business and look above it and look down. And what I found then is, for the first time, you're doing all this work and we're running our businesses all successfully, but without staff, our businesses are nothing. And also, like we had five technicians when we went into COVID. Well, one left because they went to do, and that's another problem. People are leaving the trade completely, and there's no way you can ever retain those members of staff. But then the others, in the COVID period and the time after COVID, they were either off isolating, they had COVID, or they're on holidays. So it meant we went down to 1 or 2 staff, or 2 technicians a month. And you can see how quickly then that your business can fall apart. Something that's been really successful for years, and then all of a sudden we're struggling because we can't get the money through the till. So we use recruitment agencies, and we also try and get people like Matt to recruit from people that they already know in the trade. We do know a lot of people in the trade, and what we do as well is we're very happy to pay recruitment. We're very happy to pay recruitment costs, because when you first look at it and you see, well, I've got £3,000 to £4,000 to pay, you think, oh, that's a lot of money. But reality is, having a technician down or one of your service advisors down means you're losing between £10,000 and £25,000 a month. So if you get the right guy in, the right tech in first time, you can pay. Sorry? Or girl. Yeah, we've got a girl starting soon too. If you can get the right person back in, you could very quickly recruit their costs. And then the other thing we did is we found that if we had any bad apples and people that were losing morale, we would move them on. Because having one bag egg in your team knocks everyone back every day. So you need to make sure that's right. The other thing we did is we worked out again through the garage management system what we know each month what our break-even point is. So and our break-even point, and I quite happily share it, is £75,000 a month through the till, parts and labour. It's a good guide figure. So anything after £75,000 a month, then we pay a bonus. So if we get, and we cap it at 100,000. So, and I base that with 4 technicians working. So if they could get 100% efficiency or produce me good labour, they get another £500 a month in their pay packet. And they can achieve that 9 or 10 months of the year with 4 technicians. I've now got 6 technicians and an apprentice who earns half what a technician does. And I haven't changed those figures, but what I've still done is capped it at 100,000. So after 100, everything after 100 then comes back to me, so I can reinvest that in. So it's things like this, having flexible time helps retain my business. Give people flexible time. If they want a day off, give it to them. And if they want to start late, give it to them. Some staff never will be on time, but they'll always work through late. Just go with it. All right?
Thanks, Pete.
I think the guys have touched on all the main points, but I think it boils down to the right attitude and the right aptitude. And I agree with you that there's no one way of achieving that, and sometimes it's a little bit of luck. But we've had success with recruitment agencies, with advertising online. We've permanently got search engine optimized page on our website, and it's overall we've had fairly consistent staff, and I think that boils down to what Matt was saying, that it's the work environment and making people happy to be part of the organisation is what it boils down to.
Perfect. Thanks, Emma.
There's not really a lot I can add because we've all done such a great job answering it. For me, the main word is community. So it's difficult getting staff in the door. When you've got the staff in the door, it's retaining them. So we do a lot of wellness days. We go to a lot of events that the staff might not be able to get access to themselves, either because they're exclusive or because of the cost involved for the door ticket. Likewise, we make sure twice a year we take them on a trip. So we just, literally the last weekend or so, took everybody over to Belgium, completely paid for, Spa-Francorchamps Classic for watching the racing. They had beer money in their pockets, put their hands in the pocket for any food or drink or anything similar. Had a great time. We all grew as a team, and we all continue to grow that community, which really helps everybody rub along well at work in an already great environment and develop so that they all want to stay because they want to go on that next trip in the next 6 months and those events in between. And that's really helped us retain our staff. We still have the problems like everybody else with onboarding, but really they've all been answered.
Thank you, Tom. I think that's really interesting, and that I'm fairly sure that every garage man in this building would have a similar story to what you're talking about, because it's a challenge, isn't it? I think the one thing that the thread that went through what you guys were talking about is, well, there's 2 actually. One, you have to be imaginative and think through what your particular circumstances and understand how to be imaginative about what you're doing to keep them. But the other thing that struck me, and it goes back to what I said a little while ago, you've kind of got to know where your headroom is. So the traditional way of operating is perhaps not giving you that flexibility, whereas if you are analytical about how you operate your garage, you know where your headroom is, and you can introduce things a little bit more like the bonus schemes that Pete was talking about. I hope we recorded that, Pete, because I'm nicking it. No, I bet your staff hope.
The other interjection there, sorry, is the IGA. The IGA obviously also does the big awards, which is fantastic for recognising people within the business.
Yeah.
One of the new things this year that's been introduced by the IGA is the apprenticeship award.
Yeah.
So young apprentices can really feel heard and seen, and it's something that a lot of people aren't recognising. They get the apprentice in the door, they're no longer the dog you kick.
Yes.
They are the people you need to put on a pedestal.
Future.
And that's been recognised by the IGA, which I think is a massive reinvestment.
Well, for that reason, that's why. So just to build on that then, what Tom just said, I will definitely come back to you. Just to capture that moment, that because we have tried a number of different ways to fix this problem and not been successful, well, not been any more than partially successful, we've gone full circle and we've gone back to the apprenticeship being the way to build a foundation beneath our industry, because we can find these little sort of plugs for the millions of leaks in the bucket, but it's very difficult to have a decent bucket if we don't have new people coming into the industry. And we've only got sort of 5 minutes to cover off 2 more subjects really, so let's just get under the skin of one real quickly. I enter into a lot of conversation, whether that be an incoming telephone call or whether that be a garage visit, with lots of garages talking to me about how they want to build their business opportunity, they want to grow their business one way or another. Introducing new services is usually the topic we talk about. There's a fundamental problem most often with the question I get asked, because I don't actually know A, how much money you've got, B, what your customers in your area will stand, C, whether you're competition. So I often don't know how to answer the question. But we always have a good natter about it, and we have a natter about the usual suspects, introducing MOTs to the garage, introducing wheel alignment. Wheel alignment seems to be a very popular thing to introduce to garages. Even I was doing that at my garage before I came to work for the IGA. So I would be interested to understand, I know you've got quite a lot to talk about in this subject, Matt, so we have only got a short period of time there. Do you want to go first and talk about that?
Yeah, so our business, pretty much from day one, we've done the same thing. We've always done Mercedes and BMW. We've worked the same way, done pretty much the same stuff. We were forced towards the end of last year to take on a unit next door to us, and I didn't want to do the same again. So we were looking at other opportunities. We've never done MOT. We don't have an MOT name. We don't have an MOT license. So I looked into putting that in place. The costs for me and the amount you can charge for what we charge labour rate-wise don't add up. I just couldn't see the point in ever putting an MOT name in, and I don't understand, no offence to anybody here, why you'd want to do one now. Just, for £54 an hour, we charge £112.50. It doesn't make sense to do an MOT. So we've converted it now, so we're now doing, like John said, we're putting wheel alignment in, we're putting ADAS calibration in, and then we're setting up an EV dedicated service centre, because there's no one around us really that has the capabilities. All of our guys are EV level 3 or 4 trained. We're already doing quite a lot of EV stuff, so it makes sense for us to be able to sort of move into that market completely now, really. So, but again, that all comes off the back of being able to know our numbers, know what we can do, and understand that it's worth doing that. So.
Yeah, and much the same as Matt, we're always looking to expand and do things. We actually run 3 MOT bays, or we have 3 approved MOT bays on site. And unlike that, I think we get a lot of kickback from MOTs, and eventually MOTs can't stay where they are. They're going to have to go up in cost, because the further on that we go, and basically the less we make out of an MOT, the less garages will be doing them. So there will be a good market to come with MOT. But we're looking at EVs as well, and I think my guys are all trained, but they're not competent. So we need more courses now to get them on, and we actually need to embrace it now. But it's difficult embracing something which actually then you lose your efficiencies on. But it is something we're very aware that we need to do. And also we're looking at just pushing off ADAS and everything else. But again, ADAS I don't think is going to kick off. I've been looking at it for 10 years. I think we're waiting for the MOT to change for that to kick off, and then we'll be sailing then. I know we're short of time, so I'll push on.
I think there was only 2 points really that I can think of that haven't already been touched on. The MOT element, yes, in isolation it probably doesn't actually make money, it doesn't fit your labour rate, but I think it would be worth considering the knock-on of that. Do people expect a entire service? They want their service, their own car done, they want it all done in one place because it's the day off the road for the car, and is it the convenience of that is worth considering if you're not involved in it. And for us, we haven't felt the need to be involved in EVs, but we've got the qualifications in the workshop, and we know that the support of Heather is available as and when we need to make that decision in the future.
Right.
One massive thing for us has been the IGA's input to our training. So all of our technicians are level 3 trained. That's something that everybody, when they're new in the industry, likes to get the box tick, get more qualifications in, because if they do decide to go elsewhere, they feel like they're getting something from you, and it's not cost us, the world, to put them through the course, because it's quite competitive on costings for the IGA. The biggest thing for me about this section is actually not leaving food on the table and having your service advisors trained. So it's not about what you can do in the workshop, it's identifying the things where you're missing opportunities. So your tyres are wearing unevenly. Why? Well, that control arm's got to play. Right, let's do the control arms at the same time as your tyres and do your alignment. Tick, 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 easy money, repeatable, easy performance targeted things where their service advisors can have a few little nuggets of information to go, I know that ties in with this, I know that brake line or that subframe means that it needs to be an alignment done.
Yes.
And not leaving the food on the table and giving the customer good reason to have that work done collectively rather than maybe over the next year or two which it could wait to do, means there's no food left on the table for another garage further down the line to pick up on. And that, for me, is more important than all the add-ons.
Yep.
It's working smart, not hard.
Yep. And weirdly enough, you've triggered me to think about front of house training, which was not part of this conversation, but it's something that's growing in validity in terms of independent garages, and it's something that's possibly quite early in its sort of progress. But thanks for that. I think actually you all made me blush because you all referred to something to do with the IGA, so I'm very grateful. Pete, your training centre is obviously a diversification and an expansion in its own right, which is you know, that's just thinking very outside the box, isn't it? But in my opinion, all of that stuff goes back to, are you analysing the business enough to be able to know where your headroom is, to know what money you can spend on the stuff that these guys have been talking about. So, I wanted to give 5 minutes of Q&A, but maybe I'll do a bit of talking about the last one, and if anybody's got a contribution, so I'll keep it short. My last point was about succession planning. If I got a quid for every phone call I get from members that are coming to the end of their working career that are intending to just either give their garage away or just shut the door and lock it and walk away from it, I'd be a rich bloke. And they're all kind of a little uncomfortable about it, and they don't really know what to do with it, and I can't really do much for them by the time they're talking to me about it. And often these folks have done a massive shift. They're well into their 60s, way beyond what other people would have retired at, and yet they're wondering how to dissolve the business. And I think the conversation that I tend to have with them, I'm a little ignorant, because my garage business didn't do what I'm about to say. But what I've understood now is that this thinking should come at the beginning of the journey, not at the end of the journey, or if you can't do it at the beginning because that's already gone, do it somewhere before you get to the end. Because by the time you get to the end, all I can offer them is, as members of the IGA, we've got a legal team of barristers and solicitors, talk to them to help you dissolve it. But that doesn't really fix it. That helps them, but it doesn't really fix it. Have any of you guys got a pearl of wisdom about that? Have you already set it
I
up?
can chip in there because that's something I just worked on a lot in January. So we've got a 10-year exit plan. We've only been in business seven years, and it's all based upon data. Coming from a background of banking, investment firms that would look to buy garages, and there's a lot of people out there sniffing around the independent sector now because they realise that the main dealers have skimmed so much off the top. There's a second tier to it, and the garages are now earning their keep and making good money. We've got a 10-year exit plan. That 10-year exit plan solely relies upon knowing our key performance indicators, the data, the retention, the visits per year with our staff, and with our customers, and the upsell rates back to that, not leaving food on the table. And therefore, the profit per job is really important, because then you can go cost per acquisition for the client is X, profit in a job is Y, overheads are Z. At the end of it all, we should have a big fat successive money. Please buy my company. You can only do that with a plan.
Right, so the plan is the crux of what you're talking about.
Yes.
You've also just given a very good case for analysing your business. Thank you, Tom. That's good. And you did that halfway through then?
Yes, well, probably
Yes.
early, but we've revised it in January. Yeah. There's always got to be an exit strategy to reduce risk in the business.
Yes. Yeah, fair enough. And if I may say so, you're nowhere near your 60s yet. So,
Now,
well done.
there is a 6 in my number, but it's not three before it.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else?
I mean, for us as the second generation of the family, I'd like to hope I've got a little bit left in before that's part of the plan. But it's not something that myself and my brothers have thought about yet. But certainly something that came up in a conversation before this was the consideration and the impact of MOT on however you plan to pass the business on or sell it. Because depending on how you do that, could impact your MOT capabilities. Because it all depends on the rights you've got. So you could lose the granddad rights if you sell the business in a certain structure, and whoever's then taking it on could have an uphill battle and a lot of costs involved to get back to that status.
That's a very good point. I don't know if everybody knows, but what Emma's referring to there is the business of if the structure of the company changes, for an MOT station, the directorship of the business changes. You have to comply with the new regs, which can be very costly if that's where you end up going. I'm going to wrap it there because we've got like a minute to ask if anybody's got any questions, if you don't mind, folks. Has anybody got any questions of us? No?
My daughter,
Come on,
she's
hold
7.
on, get your mic so we can hear you, thank you.
So my daughter is 7, and we've also talked about what we're going to do with garages at the end, and she's going to turn them all into veterinary surgeries.
Is she indeed?
Yes.
I bet Emma
So,
will love that.
So watch this space in Bournemouth.
Perfect, thank you very much. Well look, thank you for listening. The perspective that I've shared with you from an independent sector, I'm guessing that we're all independents in this congregation anyway. But look, if there's anything that you'd like to talk through that piqued your interest, our stand is literally a couple of yards along that way, B102. We'd love to chat with you. Come and have a natter and enjoy the show. Thank you very much.